gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air on a rainy, nasty Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. It is Wednesday, April 2nd. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again today. If you're watching live on YouTube, we appreciate that very, very much. Very much, I should say. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. The subscriptions are going well. We love to see that, inching our way closer to 1,000 subscribers. So if you have subscribed, thank you. If you haven't, do that. And if you have, tell a friend, 2, 10, 20, however many friends you have here in the Quad Cities about what we're doing each and every day here in the Quad Cities. It's Off the Air with Matt Randazzo every weekday at 10 a.m. talking sports and everything else here in the Quad Cities and really the bi-state area as well. So also live on X right now. We thank you if you're watching on X. Thousands of people have been doing that, which we love to see. And also, you can check us out on all the podcasting platforms. Wherever you get your podcast, you can check us out each and every day. Apple, Spotify, Podbean, iHeart. I ramble them off every single day. Wherever you get your podcast, you can check out Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. If there's a place where you get podcasts that you cannot find us, make sure you let me know. We'll get on that one as well. But I think I checked off every box along the way. Hopefully everyone survived April Fools. I got one time on Twitter. I saw something. I was at the orthodontics with my with one of my kids and just kind of scrolling through X and saw that Bradley and Illinois were going to play a home and home. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I retweeted it, and I had to have somebody text me, say, hey, you got April Fooled. That's not true. So only once was I fooled on April Fools. It's now April 2nd, so now it's back to just called lying again. So it is a rainy, nasty day in the Quad Cities. Hopefully everyone is inside, nice, warm, dry, and watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, because we do have a really fun show for you today. It was a busy 24 hours. It's been a busy 24 hours for the Fighting Illini basketball program. Morez Johnson committing to Michigan, so that rivalry heats up. And then kind of some surprising news that Ty Rodgers is staying home. So when all of this breaks, I said, I got to talk to the guy that knows basically everything when it comes to Illinois athletics, and it's my guy, Kedric. He's going to join us in a matter of moments, so stay right here. A lot of Illini talk coming your way in just a few minutes. Also, super excited for our first Steamwheeler Wednesday of the season, brought to you by XUSD. So really excited about that. Head coach Cory will be around 10:40 this morning to talk about the 2-0 Quad City Steamwheelers as they get ready to head to Des Moines this weekend for a road test before back home next weekend. So Steamwheeler Wednesday today as well. And also we're going to talk a little Iowa women's basketball. Leah Guyton gets into the portal. Addie Deal last night playing in the McDonald's All-American game, only the fourth Iowa Hawkeye recruit to ever play in the McDonald's All-American game. That and the Iowa baseball team is red hot. They're tied for first place in the Big Ten. They won last night 13-3. Kyle does a great job with not just women's basketball, but with Iowa baseball as well for the Hawkeye Report. So Kyle will be here in the second hour of the show as well. If you missed either of our first two shows this week, please go check them out. On Monday, we had Cooper Koch committed back to the University of Iowa, and Ben McCullum. Cooper was nice enough to join us. Also, we had Darian Porter, Iowa State cornerback, Bettendorf standout, spent his first 3 years maybe at wide receiver, flipped over, moved to cornerback. After 5 years, still wasn't starting, made the most, I should say, out of that 6th year at Iowa State. Was awesome last season, including a couple interceptions against Iowa. Then went and killed it at the combine. He's going to be a second-round pick in the NFL draft. maybe a late first round, but probably a second round pick coming up in just more than 3 weeks. So great conversation with Darian Porter, an amazing young man. Go check that out from Monday. Also, Pat Anger joined us on Monday as well. Yesterday, Kent McCausland, former Hawkeye, president of the I Club, talking to us about a new era of Iowa basketball with Ben McCullum. Also, we caught up with Titan Anderson, former North Scott standout and a All-Valley player for Northern Iowa. Leaves Northern Iowa in the top 10 in both scoring and rebounding. He's got a professional basketball career to attend to. Great to catch up with him. So check out him. And also Julian Vandervelde as well. Julian is back on stage. His son is on stage as well. This week at the Spotlight Theater, this weekend, Titanic at the Spotlight Theater this weekend and next weekend. So go check out Julian Vandervelde back on stage, doing a little acting. So exciting to see that as well. Some news and notes from yesterday in the world of sports. Bennett Sturtz is officially a Hawkeye. No surprise there, but he made it official yesterday. More Drake players going to the portal. You'll probably see them head to the University of Iowa in the very near future, as well as Ben McCullum continues to build that first roster, of course. Cooper Koch, as we mentioned, back in the fold at the University of Iowa. Still waiting to hear from Josh Dix and Price Stanford, where they will continue their college basketball careers as well. Owen Freeman, Brock Harding. Owen is off to Creighton. Brock last week on Friday, maybe Thursday night, but he was joined us on Friday announcing that he will be going to TCU for the rest of his college basketball career. And, of course, we mentioned it near the top, a busy, busy night last night for the Fighting Illini. First, word comes out that Morez Johnson is going to Michigan. That's a school that the Illini hate. It's a program that the Illini hate. So that one hurt a little bit. Good news coming about an hour or two later. Ty Rodgers, many people expected him after redshirting this year to head to the transfer portal and to leave Illinois. He announces that he is staying in Champaign. So we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Fighting Illini. So if we're talking about the Illini, we turn to this handsome devil. I've known you for 25 years, Ked. You're not getting any better looking. I'm telling you that right now. But you're getting smarter.
Those gray hairs. Gray hairs, baby.
That's all that wisdom coming through. Appreciate you joining us. It is a busy time. It's Portal Combat, all that kind of stuff. I want to start with you with the headline last night that came out that Morez Johnson officially committing to Michigan. Before we get into the Michigan thing, I know that you talked to his dad pretty quick after he had decided to get in the transfer portal. Talk about that decision and what kind of stuff you know with that as you giggle, and I know why you laugh.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Matt, if I'm allowed to say anything, because people were so offended and hurt because I did my job as a journalist, and a father called me to do an interview, and I gave his quotes, but I don't know. I mean, am I going to get in trouble? Are you going to put me in a timeout? You're going to put me in a corner? You're going to unfollow me on social media? I mean, give me a break. The dad called me, and I did my job. Matt, he could have called anybody who covers University of Illinois, and he called me, and people's feelings got hurt. I'm really, really sorry.
You know what it is?
I know what it is, and I can't say on the air, but if you out there, you'll be surprised.
But what it also is they like to kill the messenger. If they don't like the message, then they like to get mad at the person delivering the message instead of the actual message itself. And I think that's a problem that's some of it, I think, as well.
It is. And the sad thing about it is that the dad doesn't care at all what I wrote. He loved it and don't care what the people think because it's how he feels. And it's his right. But I guess people don't have a right to feel that way anymore. Again, I just did what I was asked to do. And, I mean, I didn't do anything unprofessionally. And, again, he saw it. And I'll tell you what's really funny. You would be surprised the people that saw that little message from our Illini guys message board. I'm talking coaches and other former players. Sunday, I got so many phone calls from former players. I thought it was 1989, 2004, and 5 all over again. But my point is, they weren't mad either. They were like, kid, we respect you, man. And the fact that the dad called me tells me that ethically you do things right. But to answer your question about Morez, let's get going with that. I've cried enough now. Here's the deal. I have mixed feelings on all this. I really do. I understand where the university is coming from. And the one thing that Morez himself told me, not his father, is that he doesn't like the fact that people are mad at him because they said he wasn't loyal. The kid committed when he was in 10th grade. And the fact that people cannot understand and totally took what the family said out of context. One of the things I wrote about was the fact that he mentioned Kofi Coburn and Dane Danger. And I want to say this really slow and not speak too fast. I'm not going to spit at this screen or in my microphone. What the family was trying to say, Kofi was a 2-time All-American. They understand how good he is. But to them, in their eyes, and Dane Danger, they were just post players. They were guys that you sat on the block, threw the ball in them, shot a right-hand hook, left-hand hook, right dunk, or left dunk. He personally has the dream of playing in the NBA, and that doesn't work anymore. So he wanted to expand his game. So for all you people out there thinking that he was criticizing Kofi, read the whole thing. Don't just take out part of the conversation that you want to take out of and just be negative, because I can't fault the kid if that's what he wants. I don't know if he can do that. I'll tell you what. I mean, if you ask people in practice and coaches, they'll tell you he's done really, really well. But I do think, and I'm going back to the Illinois coaches side, I know they were going to work with him on those things. I know he was going to be given a chance to prove that he could put the ball on the floor. But I just don't know if his father or Morez believed it himself. And that's them. They went to Michigan, which I'm not a fan of. I think if all these kids leave, staying in the conference, and I know you can't control it, I didn't like that. When I saw Luke Goody went to Indiana, because we text each other sometimes about fishing because he likes the bass fish and so do I. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But it's hard to see a guy that you've invested in you're going to play against. And Illinois is going to play against Michigan all the time. So that part of it kind of stings, and I know the fans are upset. But the one thing I do know about the Illinois staff, they're going to reload, and they're going to find players. There's too many guys in the transfer portal. I think the last I checked, there may be close to 1,500 kids in that transfer portal. It is. And so Illinois is going to be fine, but it stings PR-wise. I get it.
Yeah, and Ked, I want to just stay with Morez for a second, because the question is, can he do it, and can he or can't he do that? But if you want to look big picture, it's the right attitude to have. Now, unfortunately, he didn't think he could do that at Illinois, but how many conversations have we had over the last few years where it's, hey, can Luka Garza play in the NBA? Can Kofi play in the NBA? Keep it local here. Can Ethan Happ play in the NBA? Can Owen Freeman play in the NBA? Because that's what the NBA is now. You have to prove that you can shoot the ball from the outside.
Yes.
Luka Garza did that, transformed his body, and became he's a reserve for the Timberwolves. Ethan Happ's having a fantastic career overseas, but that's what you want to see in the NBA, is somebody who can put the ball in the basket and do those kind of things. And you can't fault a kid for looking ahead. If you're in any profession, and if you want to reach the highest point of any profession, you have to look big picture. That's what he did. Unfortunately, he didn't feel like he could do that at the University of Illinois, but that's what you have to do, isn't it, Ked? You have to look big picture when it comes to the NBA and what they want.
Matt, listen, I understand how the fans feel. I do. There are fan bases who are as passionate as hell. I understand it. But Matt, how many kids do you have?
Too many. Is that 3? Too many? 4.
4? Okay.
4. Come on, Ked. Trust me.
I only planted the earth twice, man. Okay, listen. So let me ask you. You tell me. Well, let me answer your question first. I think he could have did it. He could have been successful at Illinois.
Absolutely.
Now, the reason I'm asking about your kid. So, say, for example, one of the stores here, you know what? I'm going to use Godfathers because I know they're one of your sponsors.
Love it.
Okay.
And they got a good cheeseburger pizza, don't they? Don't they, Ken?
That's right, baby. Bacon cheeseburger. So let me ask you. So, they're going to give one of your boys $1,000. Okay. Then Pizza Hut's going to come in and say, Mr. Randazzo, we're not going to give you $1,000. We're giving you $15,000. You're going to say, we're going to take the $1,000. I don't need that for other $14,000. Matt, how dumb are you? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Who in the hell will say that? And the people who are listening to this podcast, but I love the university. I understand that. And it wasn't all about money, but in today's world, why would you turn that down?
Yeah.
It could be lies about how much money he made. And I know the rumors out there that he got $1.5 million. Let me explain to you people. For some kids, that's life-changing money.
No, for
And there's people out
everybody,
there who
that's
are-
life-changing
Yes.
money.
And you're listening to this podcast and sitting there saying that I wouldn't do it. Yes, you would. And I'm truthfully, I want to see him at Illinois. I don't want to see him leave. And here's what people don't understand. These kids didn't create this monster. The NCAA did, and all the lawsuits. So why shouldn't he do that? You get coaches, they're not loyal anymore. They can leave whenever the hell they want, but nobody says anything. But as soon as a kid wants to better himself, they get mad. And my other part is that some people think that every kid that plays basketball or football is poor. I'm going to tell you right now, and I hope this family listens to this. I was very, very good. I'm very good friends with the Hawkins family. Their uncle used to be a police officer here in Davenport, in the
I
Quad
didn't
Cities.
know that.
So I've known that. Oh my gosh, I've known that family for 30 years. We've golfed, we've played cards, we've had cookouts. I've met their in-laws. I've been friends with that family for 30 years, and I want people to understand. People are mad at Coleman Hawkins because he got a deal for $2 million. Let me tell you all right now, that family is not broke. They have a lot of money. They have a beautiful home. They moved to California, and I'm telling you, because when you look at it, he's a basketball player. He plays football. He doesn't have any money. He did a business decision for himself. And you know what? He took care of his family. So all these people want to criticize these kids because they're going by the rules. It's wrong. Why would you get mad at them? But on the flip side of it, do I want to see all these kids transfer? No, I don't. I think it's tough for the coaches. Can you imagine being a coach and every year you're going to lose your players? I mean, I love
wild.
women's basketball, but look at what's going on at Notre Dame and all these schools. Iowa just lost a Guyton girl. And you know what? You can leave. And there's no consequences to it. So I don't know if I'm a fan of it, but as a coach, I would absolutely hate it because you have to re-recruit your players every year. And I think that's hard because you don't know what goes on behind the scenes and people are throwing money at them. And some kids just want to play. And I think in the Morez case, I'm not saying money didn't matter, but I'm going to be honest with you. I talked to that kid personally, and I'm going to tell you, really, really good kid. He just wants to be able to do exactly what you said when you asked me the question, Matt. He wants to be able to go expand his game, and he didn't feel comfortable with it at Illinois. Whether I liked that or not, he didn't.
Can you look at it? And we had Owen Freeman on last Thursday, Brock Harding last Friday. Go look at my social media. You don't. In fact, save yourself the heartache because the people came right after him, like selfish money talks, all those kind of things. And it's like, wait a minute, their coach left. Which is, it's one thing if they just go to look, but like they went there. And Ked, what's the number one reason? I don't want to say now, maybe because now it's probably Monday, but money. But 5 years ago, what's the main reason that when your son was looking at maybe playing college basketball or playing college baseball, what's a big thing he's looking at? He's looking at coaching, right?
He was at the coach that came in, the coach that built a relationship with him.
Yes.
The coaches, and you're right. My son had opportunity
And
to play
Kennedy,
division
too.
in basketball and baseball. Yes. And when these coaches came in and talked to us, it mattered. And then I did my homework because I wasn't stupid about it, but it does. So, I mean, I felt bad for Brock. When he went to the transfer portal, the negative comments from fans who aren't even Iowa fans. Oh, he's going to a junior college. That's the stuff that I heard. Why would you want to see somebody struggle? The country we live in right now makes me want to stick my finger down my throat and throw up all on this computer because it is so negative. If that kid could go make money and go play the game that he loves, so what?
Yeah.
Why are you mad? You know why I'm not a jealous person? My mom and dad have always raised me. Kid, don't be jealous. If you want something, go get it.
Yes.
Quit blaming other people. So if you want to be a better basketball player, if you want to live through your kids, then damn it, make them a better basketball player. But I am not jealous of another person. I'm not going to be that way. If somebody is a better journalist than I am, or somebody can beat me to a story, I tip my hat to them. You can see my bald spots in my head. It's wrong, Matt. And it's just to see. I felt so bad for Harding because I know the family. The mother was my daughter's basketball coach in high school. The father was my son's baseball coach in high school. They're good people. And the things that people were saying about their kid, and It irritated me. I was going to say a bad
and
word,
even
but it irritated me.
And even Owen, you mentioned they'll say numbers, and I don't know what the numbers are. I have no idea, but obviously he's making a good amount of money. But they would say like 1.8 million, like they're mad about it. Like, why are you begrudging a kid for going and making money when his coach left? I mean, hey, I'm an Iowa fan. I grew up an Iowa fan. I know both those young people very well. I've gotten to become good friends with them, and I know their family very well. I would love for them to stay in Iowa City. Makes my job a lot easier, kid. You know, if I got 2 local kids in Iowa City, that makes my job easier. But I completely understand it. Their coach left, and these are the regulations that college basketball has set up, or the lack of regulations that a college basketball has set up. So it's the game that they've brought about. Don't get mad. I'm not just talking about Brock and Owen, but any of them. Don't get mad at kids when they want to go maximize their earning potential. That's what we do as adults, right?
Yes, exactly. And let me answer that question. You know why? Because they only care about when that corn tips or when that pitch is ready to be thrown. I want my team to embarrass you. And if you're not on my team, you're not winning, I don't like you anymore. That's what it's about. Because once these kids graduate, they don't give 2 rats. All they care about, I mean, let's call a spade, Matt. When Illinois is playing Iowa, they don't care if the Hulk, Captain America, whoever came out there in a uniform, as long as they kicked Illinois' ass, that's all they cared about. But and that's it. And if you stay with them and if you leave, you're a bad person. Yeah. You're not one of us anymore. This isn't a cult. The things are different. You and I'm a little bit older than you. It's tough to get used to this, Matt. But if you don't adjust to it, you're going to be behind. Yeah. You have to adjust to it. Look at the Final Four. I was going to tweet this, but I'm going to throw it out there right now. Do you know one of the best things about the Final Four was all the Cinderellas? We didn't have any. You know why? Because all the Cinderella players are playing on better teams. There's no, 15 seed beating a number 1 or 2, whatever the case may be, because those days were done, and that's what made the tournament fun. So to me, I either you like it, you adjust to it, but I will never ever be mad for any adult, like you said, or child, even an infant, to make money and to better themselves, because it's not my kid. I would never, ever. I want to see my kids succeed. My daughter got a master's degree, and I'm so happy for her because she achieved that. That's great for her. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, being negative, all these people pretend like they're Christians and God. I tell you what, being jealous is a sin, and that's not one of my styles. I'm not going to be that way. Do I get frustrated when I see people get mad at these kids? It's wrong. Again, Matt, they didn't create the monster, buddy. They just didn't.
No, they didn't play. And one last one on this, and I want to talk about Ty Rodgers and a few other things. But, and I'm using Iowa fans, and I'm not getting mad at Iowa fans. But it's funny that some of the same Iowa fans that got mad at Brock and Owen and maybe Price and maybe Josh Dix, depending on where they go, they're doing fist pumps, and they're thrilled that Bennett Sturts and the rest of the Drake kids are coming from Drake to Iowa. And it's like, wait a minute, you can't be mad that these guys are leaving and going someplace else, but then you're thrilled that you don't feel bad for Drake. Nobody's feeling bad for Drake. You're thrilled about that. Yep. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to. It is the way of college basketball. Like you just said, we're old. I don't love it. I'm getting used to it. You have to evolve. In life, you have to evolve. But I do hope they put some regulations on this so we know a cap. We know what people are making. We know maybe a contract. So when you go someplace, you can't just go someplace and then leave right away the next year. Maybe you go there for 2 years and coaches know what they have for a little while, but there's a lot of things they can do to fix it. Ty Rodgers.
Matt, can I comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I make okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to know how much money they make. It's none of my business. And I'm going to tell you why I don't want to know. From a coaching standpoint, that causes chaos in your locker room. You got a kid that barely plays, who's making $800,000 a year, and one kid's making $500,000. Then you got one kid's making $125,000, and he's starting, and then he can't understand why he starts, and another kid's making more. That's their personal business to me. I don't care about what anybody makes. That's none of my business. If they make it public now, it's great, but to me, I just think that adds more fuel to the fire for a coach. I'm really sorry. I disagree with that part of it, buddy. I love you, but I don't agree with that.
And maybe you don't have to announce it, but there has to be some type of regulation so that you at least know what's going on and all those kind of things. And I'll say this too.
Yep.
Kent McCausland was on the show on Tuesday, and he said the same thing. What happens if you have a guy making a ton of money? It's okay. Like he mentioned, great analogy. He mentioned Andre Woolridge. He said, Andre Woolridge could have been making $2 million. I'm going to war with him. It didn't matter because he was a leader. He was this, he was that. But what if you have somebody that's making $2 million that's not a warrior, that's not giving their all, that's checking out early, looking ahead to next season.
Playing hurt.
Yes, those kind of things. That just causes ripples in the locker room, like you just said. So you and Kent, I will give you guys both. Those are great points. Ty Rodgers does announce he's coming back to the University of Illinois. Kent, I don't understand the whole situation. Can you I mean, he redshirted, and I'm not saying this begrudgingly, but he redshirted kind of unexpectedly. And then everyone kind of, I think Mike Kegley was on here last week kind of saying, I'm not saying Mike was wrong, but the feeling was, and that's what he even said, the feeling was he was probably going to transfer. Then last night, Tuesday night, he says, I'm back. What's going on?
Everybody thought he was done. And some people, I'm going to stay on topic here. Some people got mad because Ty Rodgers redshirted. And when you redshirt, you still get your NIL money. Give that money back. That's not right. Well, sir, did you even give any money while here? But at the end, I mean, seriously. And I thought he was gone. I did. But now that Trey White's gone and they may be totally different, I do like Illinois' offense. I know a lot of fans don't like it. I like the way they spread the floor. I do wish they had a more dominant guy in the post, which is why I don't like the fact that Morez is gone. But I think if they run the same offense they ran last year, I think if the ball's not in Ty Rodgers' hand, I think he could excel in that offense. He's athletic enough. He's 6'6". He's a great rebounder, which he could kind of replace what Morez did. Even though the different positions, Ty was a really good rebounder. And you also got to take in the fact, this kid was a starting point guard on the team that went to the Elite Eight last year, and he started 38 games. So having him back is a feather in the cap. I think Illinois needs that. They've taken a hit PR-wise because Morez is gone. That was a big dagger for a lot of people. Trey White going into the portal, so they needed some good news. And I'm hoping the fact that they can put him in a position to succeed. Excuse me. One of the things that I like about the Illinois coaches, they like to do mismatches. They like to find advantages. And so if you can put Ty in an advantage where he can cut and make, he's improved as a free throw shooter, I think he'll be fine. And they need to be athletic and they need to get older. So he's going to be a junior, which I like. And whether people think this is a move because Trey left or not, you go back and watch the games, Ty was really invested. He was cheering on the sidelines. When the coaches would get done talking to the players after a timeout, you saw him in the ear of Kylan Boswell. You saw him in the ear of Ivisic. You saw him being a leader. They need that. They're going to need a guy like Ty.
No, absolutely. And you know what I see too? Morez, and I've talked with Jim Madsen about this on the show, brought those intangibles, that energy, that grit to him maybe when he got out there on the court. And Ty Rodgers brings the same thing. He brings a bit of a toughness out on the floor that Illinois can use, especially, and a big body. You saw, we talked about how Illinois was younger this year. You're right. An older guy, a more developed body, all those kind of things. Definitely a positive if you're the Fighting Illini. You mentioned Ivisic. Tommy's got this brother that's kind of roaming around out there. Your thought? Can we see some twin towers at the University of Illinois this year?
Well, I'll put it like this. I know they want to play together. I'm not going to sit and lie to your listeners. I know they want to play together. I think it'd be great. A 7'2" guy that can make it rain, a 7'1" guy that can make it rain. And for those people who don't know what that means they can make shots, and they make a lot of shots, okay? But I think that's great, and I think Ivisic is a good passer. I think his brother, Zodomir, is a better rim protector, which is what Illinois is going to lead. What Illinois will have to have this year. I just mentioned the fact that they lost Morez Johnson, a great offensive rebounder. Well, you got Ty Rodgers back. Morez was a good shot blocker. Now, if they could get Ivisic's brother, you got a guy that averaged 2 blocks a game. So to me, it will be a great situation, not only just from a basketball standpoint. I mean, I think it'd be good for the family, but I think they can play well with each other. I mean, let's face it. I mean, it's going to be tough to match up with 2 7-foot guys. I mean, you could get away with 6'8", 6'9", but you got 2 7-foot guys, and Illinois is looking to get bigger at the guard spot. I don't know if Will Riley comes back. Hopefully he does, or I know his NBA stock is going up, but here's a 6'8" guy. So they could be really, really tall and athletic and guys that can shoot. And that's what Illinois wants. They want to be able to become better shooters. They were supposed to be that this year, but it didn't work out. But I know they're still trying to keep that same philosophy.
Where are we at with Will Riley? Is that just probably you expect him to go, but there's a chance he comes back, and that's probably one you got to be more patient with, isn't it?
It is. He's going to go through the draft process, and that's going to be a sad day in the Illini Nation. It's probably going to be my fault somehow that he goes into the draft and goes through the it is. Kedric, why did you let that happen? But it's going to happen. Why would you not? I mean, and when he came into this, I'm sorry, man. When he came into the season,
I love it.
He was a first-round draft. I'm a straight shooter, buddy. he was a first-round draft pick. But the once he got in that starting lineup, the green light turned on for him. He was a difference maker. And I always revert back to, and I've done a lot of podcasts and radio shows, and I always go back to Matt Painter's comment. Will Riley's a tough matchup for everybody in the conference because he is long, he has great footwork, and he knows how to score. And with him getting in the lineup, he became 4 or 5 on the scouting report to 1, 2, and 3, and he adjusted to it. So yes, he's going to probably go through the process. I think, and I've seen him anywhere from 15 to 24. So I think if you get anywhere in the 15, you got to take that. Even though I know people are probably mad and they're going to say turn the money down so that you can come back to Illinois and maybe get hurt and have a bad career. But to me, you go, you take the money, and if you're going to have a chance to play. Now, this is my opinion personally, and this doesn't mean that it's right. I would stay another year, and here's why. Terrence Shannon Jr. is one of the best athletes to ever play at that school. I mean, we could talk about all the points and he scored, whatever. Terrence was remarkable. If you look at games, he just punished people. Will Riley's a good player, but he's not Terrence Shannon Jr. And if Terrence can't get on the floor, even when he's in the G League and comes back and he could play a few minutes in the NBA and put up 14 points, if he can't make the top 8 rotation, Will Riley's probably not going to either, and he'll spend most of his time in the G League. I think coming back, getting stronger is good. I did have a conversation with his mother once, and she did say to me, which I love and respect, and I want everybody to know this. One of the things she said to me was, we're not chasing money, kid. My son's future, we look long-term. I know he's a thin kid. I want him to get better. I want him to get bigger, and I want him to get stronger. One of the reasons they came to Illinois was because of their strength and conditioning coach and Adam Fletcher. So I know people think every kid's chasing a dollar. That woman told me on the phone that they're not one of those people. If he came back and they get Ivicic's brother or Ty Rodgers and they get a couple other pieces, there's some guy from Iowa that they're really after too. I don't know his name. I can't remember. Wink, wink. They get him, man. They could be one of the favorites in the Big Ten. I know my boy Tommy Caker doesn't think they have a shot. But with Illinois, baby, we always have a shot.
You know what? And I will preference this that the people that are watching this, because Ken has a real job. I'm unemployed and I hang out in my loft all day. But we're taping this, we're recording this on Tuesday evening. So maybe something has happened, Ked. Maybe you're sitting in Bettendorf right now with a big smile on your face with a commitment here, there, somewhere in between. But as of we know right now, while we are, and you never know, it's crazy. And I hate April Fool's Day, man, because you get on this thing for a second.
Yeah.
And if you're not paying attention, like my kid was at the orthodontist tonight. And so I just pop it on. I got nothing else to do. And I start scrolling. I'm like, oh, and I retweeted that Illinois and Bradley were going to play a home and home. Because it was just like it popped up there. And then of all people, Matt Weitzel, the SID over at Iowa, texted me. He goes, "Hey man, I think they got you on Twitter. Remember it's April Fool's." And I'm like, son of a gun. Had to go undo it. I was like, thanks man. So it's hard these days because when Morez broke, I was like, okay. And I think I saw Joe Tippin report it, and I was like, okay, that's a guy that's not April Fool and anybody and all that kind of stuff. And I knew it was kind of real. So
I had to text him. I text him. I'm like, look, man, just tell me because it's out there. I don't want an April Fool's joke because I've had enough backlash. I'm like, tell me, is this real?
No, I lied to you. I told you I was going to keep you 15, 20 minutes, and we're a skosh over that. But I want to talk to you about Shauna before I let you go. Shauna Green, down in Illinois, she had a great season. Illinois had a good season. They got to rebuild though, because they do lose some key spots. They have a good class coming in. They had some good transfers last year that didn't get to see the floor because of injury as well. Where is she at when it comes to adding? Because she did a great job last year, and it looks like there's a lot of talented people in the portal, because the same way in women's basketball, that have interest at least in Champaign.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know I do know, because she's a great person. They have one of the top 10 recruiting classes in the country. I think they have the second best in the Big Ten next to UCLA. This is a team that was, dropped for dead years ago before she got there. She has resurrected that program. You mentioned some transfer portal women, excuse me. I got in trouble one time because I called them girls. They're women. That Letty Vesquilone is a 6'7" girl. I mean, and I think she's taller because my son is 6'6".
Is that you sent me a picture?
She's huge, man.
She
was a difference maker. She transferred from Baylor, and she was a top 30 recruit. So she's on campus. She tore her ACL, so I don't know her prognosis, and I know the surgery, went well, but again, you never know. But that was a big body, and they'll have her. Shea Bolin is a transfer from Duke. She played 2 years ago, but I believe she had back issues this year, so she didn't play a game. The good thing about now is the transfer portal with Illinois, with incoming of her recruiting class, because she's recruited some size, is that now it's an attractive program. And I know, this is the Quad City area, and people think I'm being a homer about Illinois facilities, but I'm going to tell you, if you get a chance to look at those facilities, not just on pictures, and you go in face-to-face, they remodeled the Urban Basketball Complex, and the men and women's complex is right next to it. It's the same building, and right in the middle is like a physical therapy doctor's room. It is unbelievable. We talk about the Smith Center in football, so how remarkable that is. I know Sports Illustrated did an article a few years ago in Illinois Smith Center. It was ranked in the top 5 in the country. Think about all the SEC schools and other Big Ten schools. So the facilities are great. Shauna has a great program to sell. She's a good person. Probably my favorite thing about Shauna, my favorite thing about her, other than she's a great basketball coach, she doesn't lie, man. She tells the truth. And every kid I've talked to, Barry Wallace was a five-star McDonald's All-American last year. And I talked to her dad, who has a son that plays at Northwestern. I think he's a cornerback at Northwestern. He told me when they went through the recruiting process, all these coaches tell you everything you want to hear, but none of them were genuine like Shauna. This Parchment kid from Sierra Parchment, she's from Canada. She committed. She's a top 100 kid that committed to Illinois. She's on campus right now. I had a conversation with her dad, and it was between Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan, I forget a couple other schools, Ohio State. They picked Illinois, like we started this show with, strictly because they trust Shauna, and they saw kids get better. And I'll leave it with this. How many kids did you see enter the transfer portal from her last year? 0. That tells you what kind of woman she is, and her staff. Her staff is amazing. They're like, attached to the hip. They're just really, really great people. When you talk to them, it's like talking to you, Matt. They're just down there people, and kids and parents can relate to that.
Ked, it's funny because you mentioned nobody got in the transfer portal. I would say the same thing about Fran McCaffrey. I know Tony Perkins left, but the majority of these guys that are now all free agents could have left last year too. And for somehow, some way, he kept them in Iowa City. Why? Because the players actually liked playing for him. There's a lot of things you can talk about Fran, but there's not former players that sit there and bash Fran McCaffrey. They all like Fran, and that's what you got with Shauna Green. She's a player's coach. People want to go there. People want to play there. It's a good thing. Is there any rumblings of the Guyton girl playing for a home state school, or have you heard anything yet? Is it too early?
No, it's not too early because there's some steam to it, because when she picked Iowa, it was Illinois and Iowa. It was Illinois and Iowa the entire time. And I talked to A.J. Guyton, and right now they're kind of, ghosting people because they don't want to talk to people. But is there some interest? Sure there is. Because Illinois has a girl. Her name is Destiny Jackson. She's a top 25 recruit, a 5-star recruit. they're the same players, and they're both athletic. I feel bad for the Guyton girl, and I don't know exactly all the reasons, but everybody I talked to from the Iowa side think Iowa recruited over her. And when they brought her in, I do know this. Iowa told her she was going to be given the keys to run the program after Caitlin Clark, and that's not going to happen. And that's not a knock on them. And again, if a coach tells you that and you see the writing on the wall, and if you're available to leave, or even if it's not Illinois, give her the opportunity to go somewhere else, because she was told that. And I know, because I was talking to them at least once a week, her and her father, because Illinois was in the hunt for her. So I would think that they've at least contacted her. I mean, I wouldn't bet my house on it, but I'm pretty sure that they have.
Ken, I told you 15, 20 minutes, but I knew it was going to be a half hour, and yeah, it is. It's over that. I could talk to you for 2 hours.
I know why. You know what, Matt? You can let the fans blame me. Kedric did it again. Because I did something wrong, and because you're hosting the show, Kedric, you know better. Don't do that to Matt.
Hey,
you're the worst journalist in the world.
Here's the beauty thing, and you know this too, because you came over to the station a lot over the 25 years almost I was there, and I had to go quick because I had deadlines, I had timing I had to worry about, I had weather guys I had to worry about, and I love James Sahara. I could do my own stuff now. I don't have to listen to anybody. I don't have to talk. If I want to go to 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll go to 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's no rules. That's the best part about doing my own thing. So we are doing great, and I'll talk to you again here real soon, because I appreciate when you come on. And you know what? Whether they like you or they hate you, Ked, you boost the numbers, man. People want to hear what you have to say.
You know what? You know what? Okay, you know what's funny? People tell me that all the time. When I do a radio show, they're like, "Kid, I saw my numbers." And you know what?
You're the Yankees. They either love you or they hate you. You're the Yankees.
You gave me some good advice tonight that I'm going to take to heart when I get off this podcast. It's not me personally. It's because I'm the messenger. Because I'm not mean to people. And if they don't like me, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not going to change it. At the end of the day, I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I'm a very, very, very lucky man to be able to do what I'm doing. And is it a lot of work? Sure it is. I enjoy it. But I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep telling the truth. That's one thing I will never do.
And Ked, you're building relationships, and that's the beauty part. People trust you because you build relationships. I could go onto Facebook right now to the Brock and Owen posts that I put up there when they were on the show, and there were a lot of positive stuff, and I love that. But there was idiots out there that were, and I could go on and fight them. You just can't fight people anyway. I mean, it's just, and you know that.
No,
it's just,
it's not worth
it is what it is, and people have the right to do whatever they want to do, unfortunately, and you just let it be and move on. I used to not have thick skin in this business, and I had big ears, but not thick skin. And now I just have big ears and thick skin. I got them both. So, cause I really don't care one way or another. So Ked, I appreciate you. We'll catch up real soon. And what did I do it for did I think it for you? I did. Did I do the ILL for you last time? I think I did.
You did. And I cannot believe you did, Matt.
I'll do it again.
Are you okay?
Hey Ked, ILL.
I and I.
All right, get out of here before I get in trouble. That is Ked Prince. Join us here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. All the Illini information you need to know. Check him out on social media. Check out Illini guys. Honestly, he covers it as good as you get, as good as they get. And I'm not just saying that because he's a longtime friend. He's a good dude as well. So we got a lot more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Quad Cities, it's time to bring the noise. Saturday night, April 12th, the Steamwheelers take on the Barnstormers in a hard-hitting Union Night showdown. We're honoring area Union members with a night of football action and ice-cold beers for only $1. Union members receive $5 off ticket thanks to Tri-City Building Trades Council and Union Locals 91, 25, and 145. Round up your crew and come cheer on the Wheelers. Get your tickets at steamwheelersfootball.com/tickets. And we'll see you on April 12th.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. Wednesday, April 2nd. And it's a big day because it's our very first Steamwheeler Wednesday here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, brought to you by XUSD. And the Wheelers are red hot. There's no April fooling when it comes to that. They're 2-0, and they're led by this handsome fellow that's joining me right now, the head coach of the Wheelers, Cory Ross. I appreciate you taking the time, my friend. We're talking about victories. We're going to talk about things you liked and things you didn't like here in a second. But y'all are 2-0. Congrats, Coach, and thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me, man. This is gonna be a fun little Wednesday deal, huh?
Yeah, you and me just hanging out, talking football, and I have no time restraints. That's the beauty part, Coach, is because I used to have to squeeze. And you're a good soundbite. I don't know if any other media guys told you that. You're a good soundbite. And I get back and I'd be like, how do I cut Cory down to 30 seconds? So I don't have to do that anymore. It's a beautiful thing. You guys are 2-0 and you go on the road, and you know more than anybody else, you go on the road in this league. It's hard. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what place you go to. You go out to Mass and you get the job done. You come back with the victory. First and foremost, that's the ultimate importance. What's it like to get that first road kill of the season?
Oh, it's been, obviously, that's the idea, right? You go on the road, you want to find a way to get those road wins because we all know how tough that is. We've been a great team at home over the years, and that's where we struggle also over the years. It's just those road games, and so. We made it an importance to understand how important it was. Had some changes that we did this year that we haven't done in the past, just to have a little bit more focus while on the road. Meetings, a lot more meetings than we've had in the past, and just to get guys' thought process is still focused on the game and not necessarily just relaxing and waiting around for the game. So I felt like it really worked. But obviously, you go through the game and we end up getting a victory, but not in the way we wanted. Wanted it to be as far as the look goes. There, we still turned the ball over 3 times, with some fumbles there, and then you also have the positive side of that is you turn the ball over 3 times, almost 4 times, I believe, and still defensively we played well enough to keep us in the game, so we can answer when the chance presented itself for the offense, and we did. So for the early games, man, you got to be excited about. Grinding out victories, knowing you're not playing to your potential yet, and those early games are going to be important.
Yeah, you talked about the turnovers, but the defense, and I want to start there because first points of the game come on a pick 6, and it came after a turnover. And there was other times where, that defense was put in bad spots and they bailed out the offense, which is something you sometimes don't see in this league a lot. Talk about that defense, because not only are they coming up with spots, but they're putting points on the board. You got to be smiling as a head coach with the way that defense played on the road.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a testament to how hard those guys work. Our defensive coordinator, Coach Thurgood, is really trying to get those guys to understand what we're trying to do as a whole, and but they're playing fast. They're playing aggressive, just like we want them to, and they're making the other team make mistakes. So from a head coach standpoint, you love what you see. I think you're never okay with everything. Like I think there's certain things that we could have done even better, but to get off the field, to force field goals in this game. As amount of times we did, it just goes to show you we're not even gelling completely as a pure unit yet. But doing what we're doing right now, the sky's the limit for how this team can go. Bearing, we stay focused, stay healthy, and just continue to play with each other.
Last time we talked, you talked about that new quarterback, a familiar face, Daquan Neal, and boy, he made some throws at Mass, and he made one in that first drive that you didn't capitalize. I don't know. You talk about putting things in a window. It set up the first and goal. Unfortunately, a fumble came after that, but you can see he's starting to get in that groove, and I think you as a head coach can probably see that there's a lot more that you and him and this offense can connect on as well. You see the raw talent first and foremost, and that's got to excite you. And then talk about the future, because I think you're just scratching the surface from what this offense could look like.
Yeah, obviously it's really telling. When you go back and look, I think as an offense in this game, you want to get about anywhere between 45 and 50 snaps as a unit, and with the turnovers and not being able to get on the field, I think we only had about 20-something plays, and that didn't even give us a chance to get in our groove for a coordinator to call plays, me, myself included. It was so tough just to get in that because we were turning the ball over, and it wasn't like it wasn't forced turnovers or anything like that. It was really just fumbles, and not protecting the football. And so but there was moments in the game where you saw the potential of this being an explosive offense. I think we had a 2-play drive for a touchdown just like that. And that was just executing the play calls, executing the routes, the throws, everything was set for that. And as I watch the game, I go back and I continue to rewatch it. It's like the potential, like we talked about, the future of what this can be. God willing, knock on wood, we stay healthy. This unit as an offense can really be special. And there's still some guys that you guys haven't seen that are practicing their butts off. And at one time, sometime sooner enough, you will see we got some guys behind the guys that are playing right now that are going to be able to make some plays for us as well. So it's a great feeling to have. But again, we got to continue to stay positive about everything we're doing, and we got to execute, man. We got to execute.
It is our first Steamwheeler Wednesday here and Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, brought to you by XUSD. Cory Ross joining us. Cory, you look on that field, and there's a guy making big plays this weekend that I was super excited to see, because I've gotten to cover Jordan Vesey at Rock Island and then at Augustana, and he's a super talented young man. He made a boo-boo. We won't talk about that. I think he had one of those oopsies. But
talk about it.
No,
talk about it so they can remember to protect the football.
And I'm sure he will. But he made up for it with 2 touchdowns, I believe. What does that guy bring to your offense? What kind of juice can he bring? And he's another explosive weapon to the Wheelers this season.
Well, and what I love about Jordan is, he started off his rookie year with us last year. And he set for probably the first 5 to 6 games, because he was really, trying to get an understanding of the offense and really just trying to understand how the routes change from outdoor to indoor, how things have to be a little quicker, things like that, right? And then he came on at the end of the year like, okay, this is a guy that can be pretty special, catches every ball, runs really great routes. And then this offseason, just watching what he did, he dropped some weight to get faster. What he's doing right now, in the blocking scheme, because for me, I think receivers can catch balls. You're a receiver, you're supposed to be able to catch. You're supposed to be able to run routes. But the things that can separate you is just how physical you are and how eager you are to block and in the run game. And VC has been able to go in there, and he is putting his entire body on the line, to make a play happen or to actually make a play break, because of his blocking, and that's what's impressing me the most. I think we all know and see he catches the ball, he runs route, he gets open. But what guys aren't seeing is those plays, those blocking plays, and he's got a little feistiness in him that I really, really love watching. And I get more excited about him blocking than catching balls, man, because it's really, really crazy just to see him growing right now. And he's going to be special, man. He's going to be special. I think he has an opportunity to continue to get better and thrive in this football game.
Coach, I know you hate the turnovers, but offensively, some good things. Besides that, defensively, we already talked about. You get an offside or a onside kick returned for a touchdown, and it wasn't an easy one, an athletic play to get that. So you mentioned like there's still more there. You could tell at the beginning of the interview you're not cranky about a win, but you're never happy, never satisfied. To get all three facets making plays and knowing there's more there is exciting. Talk about the special teams play, and then just in this game, you have to be well-rounded. You can't just be an offense that goes out there and scores as many points as possible. You got to have all three phases, and you showed signs in all three this past weekend.
Absolutely, and what was even more special about the special teams return by Cam Morez, it was one of his first times being back there as a return guy. And in this league, right, I think we all are starting to notice like teams are going for the deuce a lot more. And it seems like the return isn't there. But when it is there and we got the opportunity, guys blocked very well and Cam made a heck of a play. And those are the things that we're talking about. You talk about offense, defense, special teams. You get a score on defense, you get about 3 to 4 stops. And then you get a special team score as well. That is the formula to winning a football game. So when you get those things as a coach, it does make it easier knowing and also feeling like, okay, we're not getting our offense off the ground. We fumbled 3 times. We had one stalemate. Other than that, we just really didn't have the opportunity to play. But you still win a football game because your defense is playing well. Your special teams has contributed to the scores that you needed. And when we did need the offense, we scored. So to come off on a road victory like that, I told my staff that it was weird not being upset only because of how bad we did play offensively. But I was truly excited about where we can go after that win, because I'm like, man, they have not seen, like you talked about earlier, what we see in practice from Neal, what we see in practice from some of the other receivers, even in games from some of the running backs that we have. Man, we have a group that can be special. We just got to lock it all the way in and continue to trust the process.
Cory Ross joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach, let's look ahead then, because and I don't know if I don't want to misquote what I read, but this is the first time. Is this the first time you've been 2-0 in the Quad Cities as the head coach?
I believe so.
And that's one thing that, like, and I always say in a positive way, your teams always get better throughout the year, and you can tell there's more to improve on. But there's that 2-0 out there, so that's a nice Band-Aid to any problems that might be you see on the field and things you need to fix. To be 2-0, to have this type of momentum, to have a road victory already. Now you go on the road to another rival. What do you expect this weekend? And obviously, you want to keep those good times rolling. 3-0 would be pretty special start to the season.
Oh, absolutely. I tell the guys, we break this season down by quarters pretty much, and you want to win each quarter. In the first 4 games we have in this first quarter, you want to be on top of those. So, and we're already halfway there, being that we got 2 games. We're 2-0 going into this first half of the 4-game first quarter. So obviously we understand the 2-0, but just like I told the guys in practice last night. I like to look at it like we're starting from scratch again. It's 0-0. We want to go get that first game. We want to go get that one again. So don't look in the past or don't look to the past of what happened. Hey, yeah, we got 2 great wins, but that was yesterday. we got a game this Friday, and we got practice today. So today is today. Yesterday was yesterday. Great wins. Congratulations. But we know what the goal is. We want to get to playoffs. We want to get to the championship game, but it starts with the very next game. So, we're going to learn from those 2 games, but we want to improve from those 2 games as well. So we intend to go on in this game and treating it like it's it already is one of the most rivalries we've had in our season. That I-80 rivalry in Iowa. We got to have this one. And we like to say they don't like us, we don't like them, but we actually like each other as a group. I think our staffs and our general managers and the coaches, we've been communicating and talking to each other. Congratulations. So we actually like each other, but we just don't like each other on game day. And so it's one of those rivalries that we got to make sure we handle and just let them know, hey, I know we're going to play at least 3 times this year, so we want to win all 3 of them, and it starts with this Friday or this Saturday night.
Coach, there's familiarity, obviously, with this staff and with this team. I know it's early in the season, but what do you see from them? And it's something you're going to see a lot from them because you get them back-to-back weeks. You go up there on Saturday, and then they come back on the 12th for a huge game down at Vibrant Arena. So before that bye week. So what do you know about the team you're going to play 8 quarters against? The next 8 quarters are going to be against these guys. What do you know about them?
Well, they're not the team that they have been in the last 2 weeks. They look like they have a ton of energy. They look like they want to renew what Iowa Barnstormers have always stood for. That's been about winning football games and making the playoffs. And when you watch them, they're playing like that. It was their first game, and yes, they took a loss to Green Bay. But if you really go ahead and dissect that game, they have so much talent on that offensive side of the ball. And on defense, they are aggressive, and they're playing tight coverage. They got some zones that they do really well, but even their man coverage is really, really tight, and they're physical. So this is, I've been telling the guys, like, you watch more film, and I made the coaches talk about it yesterday, and we have to watch more film. I want you guys to watch what these guys actually look like, because they're ready to play football, and they could have really snuck away and got a win against Green Bay when they last week in their first game of the year, and it was their first one. So they're gonna get better, and they're gonna want to get better against us. So we got to make sure. Look, we got 2 games, so we're kind of ahead as far as reps per game as far as that goes. So we have to make sure we're getting better and we don't take a step back, because they're gonna get better going into from their first to their second game. We can't take a step back. We got to get better, and we got to do that this weekend, because those guys are coming. The new young quarterback can run the football. He can throw the football very well. For a complete rookie, watching him play last week, he looked like he's starting to get some comfort. And when he gets comfortable, he's going to be pretty darn good. So we got to make sure we got some eyes on him and try to contain him and maybe force him to get that ball out a little quicker. But they got some weapons at receiver, man, and I'm excited to watch those guys as their season goes forward. But I'm not excited to play them. I want to make sure, we got to handle our business, because they may sneak up and try to get one.
A few more for Wheeler's head coach, Cory Ross. Big picture, just the vibe of this team, and we can talk about X's and O's all day. But they seem like a good group of guys, people that represent the Quad Cities, some Quad Cityans in there, obviously, and the vibe feels really good early on this season. Is that a safe assumption? Is that something from the outside looking in that we can tell? And you're smiling because it's fun to go to work when you got a good group of dudes. A talented group of dudes is always good too. But when they're talented and they're a good group of dudes, that's probably something that excites you as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, I think winning makes everybody happy, right? So when you're winning, it makes everybody happy. But what I do like is what I did see when we were struggling as an offense in that game, and there was a competitive nature. There was a sense of taking what's the word I'm looking for? They just took initiative that I didn't have to be that guy to turn around and try to give them energy and try to go off and say this and say that. They took it amongst themselves. I turned around, I looked at them. They were talking about what they did right, what they can do wrong, and how we need to change it. And so I turned around, and I was like, well, I don't need to say anything. Like, they're handling it, and that's the type of unit we have. So for me, you're absolutely right. The energy is different right now. It's different, and it's not because we're winning different. It's an energy of a group of guys that actually like each other. They want to be here to win, and that is the only goal. No one is individually based. No one's wondering how they can get their stats, how many reps they're getting. They're like, Coach, we got a great group. When I get my opportunity to play, I'm going to give you everything I got. But we got a great group of guys, and that, for me, has been special, and it's a testament to some of the guys that we have brought in and in the jail and the atmosphere that we're trying to create here at Quad City. But the energy is all for special, and I think the fans see it. The fans love them, and they love being in this community. So a lot of the guys first time in this community in Quad City, and they absolutely love it. I have to make sure that they're not having too much fun out here. But it's awesome just to see the guys that haven't been in an area like this, to see how beautiful Quad Cities really is, and you can enjoy it. Some of the restaurants they're going to, some of the partners that we have as our partners, that they're really, tagging in our social media, just really showing love in a way that we want it to be, and just to being a part of the Quad City Steamwheelers. So I'm excited about this group, but also just excited about everybody that's contributing to make sure our Steamwheelers and our players are just happy about being here.
No, Coach, you can tell there's an energy already around this team, which is exciting, and I think the fans are feeling it as well. They're excited as well. Before I let you go, we're going to do this every Wednesday. You, maybe a player every now and then, so you don't get too sick of me, but I got to convince you to come out to the crib one of these times. I got like this nice little set and everything. Like I got me, like I got it going on. So like, and I got good sponsors. So have you had Snoop's chips and salsa? Have you ever had Snoop's?
I haven't had Snoop's. Wait, Snoop, like,
it's chips and salsa. It's the no. He's way cooler than Snoop Dogg. But he's a local guy. He's got what we're gonna do one of these weeks. You're gonna come out. We'll do it in studio. I'll get some Snoop's chips and salsa. We'll get some lunch, a hobo or Godfathers. We'll do a little eating, and you guys have given me food for so many years at the media luncheons. It's my turn. It's my turn, right? Yeah, so we're going to convince you to come out to the house one of these times soon, but I'm excited because I get to do this each and every Wednesday with yourself or a player and kind of talk about a franchise and organization that's doing big things and going to get even bigger and better. So go get to work, get the job done this week, and let's talk next Wednesday as a 3-0 team. How does that sound?
Yes, sir. That's the plan. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for having us, man.
All right. Cory Ross, head coach of the Quad City Steamwheelers, joining us here on our first Steamwheeler Wednesday of the year right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, brought to you by XUSD. We want to thank them as well. Great sponsor for the Quad City Steamwheelers for allowing this to happen as well. So we're just getting warmed up. We've reached the I want to say the halfway point, but we're long-winded as usually here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. But coming up, we're going to talk a little Iowa women's basketball with the Hawkeye Report's Kyle Huesmann, because some interesting things have gone on. Aaliyah Guyton is in the transfer portal. She's leaving. Addie Deal was on ESPN last night. She and a very talented freshman class are coming in. All that, and the Iowa baseball team is in first place in the Big Ten. They're good. They're exciting. They're fun. They score a ton of runs. So we'll talk about all of that and much more coming up with Kyle Huesmann right after the break. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.
Quad Cities, it's time to bring the noise. Saturday night, April 12th, the Steamwheelers take on the Barnstormers in a hard-hitting Union Night showdown. We're honoring area Union members with a night of football action and ice-cold beers for only $1. Union members receive $5 off ticket thanks to Tri-City Building Trades Council and Union Locals 9125 and 145. Round up your crew and come cheer on the Wheelers. Get your tickets at steamwheelersfootball.com/tickets, and we'll see you on April 12th.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a rainy Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. Of course, a busy time when it comes to college basketball news, and everyone kind of focuses on the men's side of things, but it's also very busy for the ladies as well. Of course, Iowa landed a big transfer last year in Lucy Olson, and there's probably going to be some comings and goings in Iowa City this year. Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joins me right now. First and foremost, Kyle, I want to say, have you taken a deep breath and kind of relaxed a little bit or rested? But you went right from women's to obviously continuing one of the hottest baseball teams in the entire Big Ten. So maybe a little less hectic. Nice to focus on one instead of two.
Yeah, I would say that there's a very steep drop off in the work that gets put in after the women's basketball season ends. But I mean, I had experience with it the last couple of years with going all the way to the Final Four, so it's an extra couple of weeks of baseball and women's basketball overlapping. But yeah, down in Norman, trying to keep an eye on how baseball was doing, when I was doing work with women's basketball was pretty busy. But now that the women's season is over, obviously it's just baseball, so there's a little bit less work to do.
Not completely over on the women's side because there's always interesting developments and headlines going on. Earlier this week, Guyton goes into the transfer portal. I guess when you see that news, I saw it from you. So when you hear about that news, what goes through your mind? Does it surprise you? Just your, I guess, initial thought of her going to the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, there were rumors, going around throughout most of the season, just about, I think her dad, AJ Guyton, had made a couple of tweets that maybe hinted at something like that. Leo got a couple of starts in the middle part of the season and then started to struggle a little bit. There were just some rumors going around that maybe she would enter the portal. And again, I had never heard anything concrete, so I wasn't really subscribing to the rumors. And then we get towards the end of the season, and the season ends, and Jan Jensen says after the Oklahoma game that she would be surprised if anyone entered the portal. And then of course, there's pictures online of, Aaliyah Guyton giving Jan Jensen a hug during pregame shoot around before the Oklahoma game. And, she hit that shot right before halftime against Murray State and gave Jan a big hug as they went into the locker room. Just kind of, I never heard like a confirmed yes or no on her, but just some of those things with Jan's comments and some of the things that I had seen just didn't seem like the rumors kind of matched what I had seen with my eyes, or heard, I guess, from Jan. So I guess I was a little surprised that the rumors ended up being true. But yeah, I don't know the reasoning for it. Hopefully it was her decision to enter the portal and only her decision. And, hopefully everything works out for her. But for Iowa, it's a pretty sizable loss, whether people want to look at this and say, she didn't make a huge impact after her first couple of games, but it is a big impact because she was a 4-star recruit, someone that they thought could be a point guard in the future for this team and be a starting point guard. Coming into the offseason, I felt like they needed to add a guard from the transfer portal, but with Aaliyah in the portal now, you don't have a true point guard. Addie Deal coming in as a freshman can play point guard, but she can also play other positions. So right now this team doesn't have a true point guard in my opinion. So losing Aaliyah, not only a very young, talented player that I think had a lot of potential, but now the roster has some more questions as we continue into the offseason.
Kyle, you look at it, and they hosted, was it Jada Williams? Is that the young lady's name from Arizona? They've hosted her. Last year they did get Lucy. How active does Iowa want to be in the transfer portal, knowing that they got to replace some players from last year, but they have a good group coming in. They like their freshman class. Is it kind of just get a player or two like they did last year, or they're not like these programs that are trying to rebuild the roster through the transfer portal? What's Iowa's approach when it comes to the transfer portal this season?
Yeah, I think heading into the offseason initially, the thought was to try to go get a guard, maybe a starter, maybe someone off the bench. I didn't get the full answer on with the people that I talked to on who they were exactly going to look for, but definitely a guard, and then potentially some rebounding help, because they lost Sita Fulter, who was probably one of the better under 6 foot rebounders in the country, with the way that she was able to rebound at that small forward position and then sometimes play the power forward position. So they were looking to potentially add 1 or 2 players, but now with Aaliyah out of the picture and into the portal, I really think that maybe 2 guards could be the answer, just because you do need to probably add a starting point guard. Because you can't expect Addie Deal to come in and be the starting point guard on day one. And maybe that's not even the position that they want her to play in her time at Iowa. So I definitely think they need to add a starting point guard and potentially look at maybe a bench option for a second one, just to give you a little bit more depth. But yeah, I do think rebounding help is going to be something that's considered as well. The big thing that I always try to tell people is that, first off, Iowa is not a school it's similar to football and men's basketball, where Iowa's probably not going to go get that, like Olivia Miles comes out of the portal from Notre Dame. Iowa's not going to get an Olivia Miles. They just don't, I don't believe they have the NIL money to go get someone like that. Now they got Lucy Olson, who's obviously a fantastic player. But the other thing is that doesn't mean there's going to be another Lucy Olson in the transfer portal this year. Every single portal class is different. Iowa's going to weigh what players do they feel like fit into their system, what players do they feel like fit into their culture. So right now they're kind of still weighing that. Obviously they brought in, as you mentioned, Jada Williams from the portal. Sounds like Iowa is not going to be her pick. Jeff Linder of the Gazette kind of hinted at it. He said he had a source that told him that Jada Williams is probably not going to come to Iowa. So the coaching staff will move on from her and look at some other options. There's a couple names out there. No one else has visited since Jada Williams. But certainly Iowa has to be active in the portal now, because like I said, with losing Aaliyah Guyton, you don't have a point guard on your team right now. You have, like I said, Addie Deal, who can play the point guard. She can play all 3 guard positions. But in my opinion, certainly need to go see if you can find a starting point guard right now. But that doesn't mean you're going to land a Lucy Olson type player. You just got to go find someone that fits your style of play, fits your culture, and can hopefully come in and make an impact right away.
And this may be putting you on the spot, but are there any names being kicked around? I know that Williams was one. She came in for a visit. I saw Jeff's report that didn't look likely. Obviously, a really good one in the portal is Guyton, but she's obviously not coming back to the University of Iowa. Are there any names? And how hard is the sell? Because, yes, there's time there, but there's also a 5-star point guard coming in, not point guard, but 5-star guard coming in that is just kind of looming there as well. So what's the sell? And then is there any names you've kind of been heard kicked around yet?
Yeah, I think the sell is right now with Aaliyah Guyton in the portal. I think the sell, if you're going after someone that was a starter at their previous school, I think the sell is that you can probably come in and start at point guard without a lot of competition. I think you would tell whoever comes in for a visit, hey, we have this 5-star freshman Addie Deal coming in who can play point guard. So she's probably going to get minutes at point guard. But with Aaliyah Guyton in the portal, the sell is that you can just come in and be the starting point guard. And that's my opinion of how they would sell it. Before Aaliyah entered the portal, obviously, when Jada Williams visited, I don't know if the coaching staff knew about Aaliyah Guyton's portal entry when Williams visited, because a couple days apart there. But at that time, your sell would be, hey, you could be the starting point guard, but we do have Aaliyah Guyton who's also played big minutes for us. But with Guyton in the portal now, I think the starting point guard position is going to go to whoever they add in the portal. So I think the sell there is pretty easy, in my opinion, to tell a player that you can probably come in and have some minutes with Addie Deal playing point guard, but get the bulk of the minutes as a starting point guard at Iowa. As of names, there's a couple out there, nothing that I want to throw out there just because I haven't confirmed if they're visiting or how invested Iowa is in trying to add them. So it's one of those where you kind of have to wait and see if, maybe they contacted someone, but it didn't go any further than that. And they're certainly going to add more visitors. Jada Williams isn't going to be the only one to visit. You're very unlikely to add a transfer without them visiting. So there's going to be more visitors. I mean, it's just kind of one of those processes. You kind of have to wait and see how it goes. I know everybody looks like the men's side with the Drake players entering the portal, and everybody just knows they're probably coming to Iowa, and it's going to be a pretty quick process, in my opinion, for the men's basketball team. But that doesn't mean it's going to be a quick process for the women's basketball team. But yeah, it is interesting because, last year it felt like Iowa felt pretty cut and dry. Lucy Olson entered the portal. It happened very quickly. I mean, it happened less than 2 weeks after the season ended. Whereas this offseason has kind of started off a little bit slower. There isn't that splash right away of, there's a Lucy Olson type player visiting. It's going quickly. So it's just one of those where fans haven't had a lot of experience with it. Just because the last couple of years, you talk about some of the Iowa teams the last couple of years, there were a lot of returning starters when you had Kate and Gabby and Caitlin coming back every year for like a 5-year span, it felt like. So it's a little different where Iowa does actually need to go really be active in the portal. And people just don't have an experience with how long it takes at times to find the right player and bring them in for visits and things like that. But I would think over the next week or two, though, that Iowa does have to get things going because there are a lot of teams looking in the portal. So it'll be interesting to see who Iowa brings in for some more visits. But again, like I said, I think you have to bring in a starting point guard now from somewhere. Potentially another guard. That's the thing that I'm intrigued with now is because you did lose Aaliyah. Do they look to add a second guard? Or do they think they can be okay with just adding a starting point guard? And then certainly some rebounding help if they can get something like that just because of the loss of Sita Fulter.
Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report joining us. One more on women's basketball. Last night, if you're a Hawkeye fan, you turn on ESPN, and it used to be, for me, like appointment television. McDonald's All-American game was like, okay, these are going to be, and they're still very good players, especially. But for the men's side, especially for me, it was like, okay, this is where it's at because the transfer portal wasn't a thing. But obviously, playing in the game is a huge deal. Addie Deal, no pun intended, playing in the game last night. Only the third Iowa recruit to play. I think it's Sam Logic, Caitlin Clark, and Addie Deal. 6 points yesterday. Didn't start, but played well. You can see the talent, I think, on the floor for sure. What is the expectations? I guess your thoughts from last night, and then how excited can fans be about not just Addie, but this class? Because Journey Houston comes from Davenport, but obviously the big name is Addie Deal, and she's going to have a lot of attention early on in her Iowa basketball career.
Yeah, first off, she's the fourth Hawkeye to play in the McDonald's All-American game. Caitlin, Sam Logic, and then Joanna Silverson in 2002 was actually, she played in the first ever women's McDonald's All-American game. So yeah, the fourth Hawkeye to earn that distinction. And as you mentioned, it is a huge deal because you look at, like Sam Logic and Caitlin Clark and what they did in their Iowa careers. And Silverson, I believe, made when Lisa Bluter retired, I did an all Lisa Bluter team during her time at Iowa. And I believe I had Silverson on that team. So all three of those players ended up being really good at Iowa. And that's generally what happens when you make a McDonald's All-American team. Those players end up being pretty good. So whenever you see that you have a recruit on that team, it certainly raises some eyebrows. And Addie Deal, depending on the site you look at, is a 4 or 5-star. On 3 has her as a 4-star. I always have to explain to people it depends. Not every site, some sites have 35 stars, some have 15 5-stars. So it's better to just look at the ranking rather than the star next to them for women's basketball. But Addie Deal is certainly a very highly rated recruit. Huge to land her in the first place, and then huge to keep her through the retirement of Lisa Bluter and the transition to Jan Jensen. An interesting tidbit they said on the broadcast last night was that Addie Deal reached out to Iowa. She was a big fan of the Megan Gustafson Iowa teams and reached out to Iowa as a freshman in high school to potentially get recruited. And at that time, I believe she was a pretty well-known recruit, but certainly has grown in people's eyes around the country the last couple of years. But I mean, there's not a lot to draw on from last night's game. Made a couple free throws, had a really nice assist on a cut to the basket from one of her teammates, and then had a nice drive and finish, went behind the back and went through some traffic and finished well at the basket. But someone to me that I think can come in and contribute and potentially be a starter right away. You look through, ESPN's the one that's done recruiting rankings for a long time. You look through those. If you look through every year and look at those top 15 to 20, which is where Addie Deal is, there's a lot of players that you go, oh, they came in and contributed right away year one. This last year, Olivia Olson and Silas Swords at Michigan were both top 15, top 20 players in those ESPN rankings. And you saw what they did for Michigan this year. And Britt Prince is someone that came in as a freshman at Nebraska and had a really good year. So I think Addie Deal is certainly someone that can come in and potentially be a double-digit scorer as a freshman, just because that's what you generally see out of players that are ranked that high. I would say the hit percentage on the top 15 or 20 in women's basketball rankings is pretty high. But she's pretty versatile. She can come in and she can, like I said, she can play the point guard a bit. She can play that shooting guard, and she can play the small forward position because she is 6 foot tall. Iowa had Sita Fulcher play in the small forward position at 5'11". So she's pretty versatile in what positions she can play. She can shoot it from outside. She can drive to the basket. She can shoot the mid-range jumper, can assist as well. But she's added some muscle over the last couple of years. She looks like she can come in and contribute right away. She doesn't look like someone that you say, oh, she has the skills to contribute, but she's got to come in and get to the Big Ten level of that physical presence that can come in and play guard in the Big Ten. I think she's pretty close to that. So she's someone that with you talk about the losses from this past team and what they need next year. I think Addie Deal's someone that can come in and add and help cover some of those losses from this season in terms of scoring. But yeah, I mean, a huge recruit for Iowa to bring in, and someone that if she has success in her first year or just being able to commit to Iowa and potentially talk to some other recruits, all it takes is one or two of those high level recruits to come to Iowa and have success. And we talked about it with Caitlin. Addie Deal, if she has success at Iowa, can be someone that can help bring more recruits to Iowa years down the road.
Absolutely. Kyle Huesmann joining us talking Iowa women's basketball and Iowa baseball as well. We previewed it earlier before the season started, Iowa baseball. And I think last time we talked, I think we were just frustrated because, the early season trip down south didn't go as planned, wins and losses and close in a lot of games. Kyle, I think you'll trade in maybe a few losses early in the year for what they've done so far in Big Ten play. They're 10-2 in the Big Ten. I think they've won 6 straight Big Ten games, or they've scored 10 or plus runs in 6 straight Big Ten games. It's fun covering Iowa baseball. It's really fun right now. This is a good baseball team, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I feel like I've missed them for a bit because I missed the Ohio State series that was at home when I was down in Norman, and now they're in the middle of that 9-game road trip. So I feel like I haven't talked to Rick and the guys in a while. But yeah, I mean, off to a fantastic start in Big Ten play. They start the season 3-6 with some close losses that were really frustrating, and just the way the postseason, trying to get to the postseason as a team from the Midwest, a 3-6 start, falling really low in the very early RPI had people kind of losing their minds a bit. But Iowa certainly turned around, won 15 of their last 18 games, won 8 in a row in the Big Ten. They were 2-2 after that loss in the series opener to Michigan State. They've won 8 in a row now, including back-to-back sweeps of Ohio State and Minnesota. And you mentioned the offense, scored 10 plus runs in 12 of those last 18 games, which is pretty incredible. They've just kind of turned things around where some of those early frustrations were just not hitting with runners in scoring position. They did a really good job of setting the table and having opportunities, but they weren't able to come through with big hits. And now they're doing that. They're drawing walks, they're getting guys on base, and then when they get those guys on base, they're getting the hit to drive in runs and doing it a lot. So it's been pretty impressive to see them turn around and start to see things get to fall. I talked with Rick Heller here recently, and he said really, really impressed with the team's ability to not get frustrated and let that 3-6 start become more than it was, to just kind of keep grinding, keep going through things, and knowing that you aren't going to set the table that many games in a row and not eventually have hits start falling with guys in scoring position. And then he says, when those runs start, when those hits start falling with runners in scoring position, whether it's 1 game or 2 games or 3 games in a row where you're like, hey, we finally drove in some guys with runners in scoring position, then it becomes contagious through the whole lineup. And that's what you've seen is you've seen a couple of guys that have been really hot at the plate, but you've seen up and down the lineup consistent production, and that's what you need to have a really dangerous offense. And the starting pitching's still been really good. I mean, Kate Obermuller has had a fantastic start to the season, under a 3 ERA through 7 starts, excuse me. And Reese Buter and Aaron Savory have been really good as well. They're still looking to find a couple of guys in the bullpen to kind of add into that group that they feel really comfortable with on the weekend. You saw against Minnesota that last game of the doubleheader on Friday. Almost let the lead slip and allowed a couple of runs with some free bases there in the bottom of the 9th, but we're able to hang on. So I think if you wanted to nitpick anything right now, it's the bullpen just trying to get more consistent. They have a couple of guys that they feel like they can rely on, but adding more guys to that group as the Big Ten schedule really ramps up with some of the series that are coming up, because you're going to need more bullpen guys, and especially if you want to play in the postseason, you need a pretty pretty deep bullpen group. So that's the thing right now, is just trying to get more guys to consistent level where they can come in on a weekend and you feel like you know what to expect.
Where are they this weekend? They are in Evanston this weekend. They're at Milwaukee. Yeah, UW Milwaukee on next Tuesday. Finally back home April 11th, 12th, and 13th for Nebraska. I'm looking ahead to that stretch that they do have ahead because they get Northwestern. They come back to Nebraska. They've gotten attention now. I mean, I even have a high schooler that said to me, "Dad, Iowa baseball is really good." And I'm like, yeah, they are. So obviously you want that kind of stuff, but you go to Northwestern. How do they make sure they continue playing well, staying atop the standings? Obviously, like you mentioned, getting some more pitching I think is going to be important. But you look at offense, not all offense struggles at the same time. It's nice to see the diversity in this offense where there's depth. And that's one thing I think you expected coming into the season. There were new parts and new faces, but they all seem to be doing well maybe at the same time right now.
Yeah, I would be curious to look back at our episode before the season just to see what I said about the offense, because I think the point that I tried to get across at that time was that you had some returning guys like a Reese Moore, Gable Mitchell, Ben Wilmus, and Andy Nelson, who has been hurt and didn't get off to the best start this season. He hasn't even really played a whole lot, and they've had a lot of success offensively. But I talked a lot about those new guys, some of those transfers, like a Miles Risley from Kirkwood, like a Jackson Beeman from Missouri, or Jason Frost was a guy that was at Iowa but just had never gotten the opportunity, didn't get the opportunity as a freshman. Ben Swales was another young guy that hadn't gotten the opportunity. They bring in Caleb Wolf. There were just a lot of guys that you didn't know how you knew the talent was there, but you didn't know how all those pieces were going to fit together. And it was a lot of new faces, like, again, young guys playing their first college baseball, playing their first time in Big Ten play, some transfers from lower levels that, they played like a Dan Rodgers, who was one of the best hitters in Loras College history. But how does Loras College level competition translate to the Big Ten? And you've seen these guys that the talent has translated to the Big Ten level, to the D1 level, and they're all hitting really well at this time. But that was the thing before the season, was the talent is there. We know what these guys can do. Can they do it at Iowa? Can they do it in the Big Ten? And can they do it consistently in the Big Ten? And the answer's been yes. So I think what I said before the season was cautiously optimistic about the offense. I don't know that I want to say I was right, because this is better. This is better than I expect. I mean, they're batting .317 as a team right now, over .430 on base percentage. So yeah, and two guys that we talked about right before we started was Reese Moore and Gable Mitchell. Those two guys are producing at a really high level. Reese Moore's batting .376, Gable Mitchell batting .375. Those are the guys that on an offense that's really deep right now are the ones really contributing at a high level. Reese Moore's got 6 doubles, 9 home runs. He's driven in 30. Gable Mitchell with 12 doubles is near the conference lead. Gable struck out 10 times and over 120 at bats. So it's been impressive to see him put together consistent at bats, and Reese Moore to shake off an slow couple of weeks and get to where he is right now. But you mentioned the upcoming schedule. Northwestern's going to be a tough series. I mean, the job that Ben Greenspan has done there since their former head coach got fired, there was some controversy there. He takes over the job, and Northwestern was really bad at that time, and he's gotten them to improve. They're 5-4 in the Big Ten right now. Just took 2 of 3 from Maryland. They've got a pretty solid offense with some really good bats in there. They've got a guy that's got 13 home runs, just hit one last night against UIC. So this isn't the same Northwestern team of the past where you go in there and you say, we'd really like to sweep them, and if we get 2, it feels like we failed to do something. This is going to be a really interesting series this weekend. And then you talk about Milwaukee. That's a game that Iowa should win on Tuesday out there on the road. And then you talk about coming home and playing Nebraska. That series is always big. Nebraska not off to the greatest start, but they just took 2 of 3 from Oregon State last weekend. That's a team that they've got a lot of talent, and when it starts to click for them, it doesn't matter what their record is. They can be a really good ball club with the offensive weapons that they have and some of the pitching that they have. So that could potentially be a huge series in Iowa City. But you asked, what do they need to do to keep it going? I think it's going to be hard to expect the offense to average like 10 runs a game the rest of the season. But I think the thing that they need to do is continue to just, when they get those opportunities with running in a scoring position, they need to take advantage of them. And they've been doing that. Last night against Bradley, they drew 14 walks. And now some of that was the Bradley pitching staff isn't good. But to not try to do too much when the other team is struggling to throw strikes and take those walks and not try to force things when you don't have too many hits in a game. They just need to continue to what Rick Keller always says, do your 1/9 at the plate. Don't try to do too much when you're at the plate. And I think this team has really bought into that. So the offense just needs to continue to click at a pretty high level. And like I said, for the pitching staff, the starters have done a really good job. It's just the bullpen needs to continue to try to get better, continue to try to gain some consistency. And sitting at 10-2 right now, we've talked about a couple of times about how important it could be to get into the top 4 of the Big Ten tournament, those top 4 seeds. Iowa's in a great position right now and currently tied for the lead in the Big Ten with UCLA. So all of a sudden the goal kind of shifts. I mean, obviously the team always wants to win the Big Ten title, but I came into the season saying, hey, if you can get into that top 4 seed in the Big Ten tournament, that'll set you up well. Now it's like, hey, this team is in position to try to make a run at a Big Ten regular season title if they continue to keep pace with UCLA. So really important. I mean, when you're at the top of the standings, every week becomes important to try to kind of keep pace near the top. But Northwestern's going to be a big series, and then you got Nebraska coming up at home. But it doesn't get any easier. Michigan, Indiana, Washington's playing pretty decent baseball, and Iowa's got to go out to Seattle for that one, and of course Oregon coming in at the end of the season. So I think they're kind of done with what you would consider the easier series. There's no disrespect to Ohio State. They did just take 2 or 3 from Oregon, but there's no more Ohio State on the schedule, in my opinion, where it's a series that you really feel like we might be able to sweep this one. I think everything from now on is going to be you got to go win 2 out of 3. It's not going to be handed to you. So we're going to start to learn over the next couple of weeks, really how hot is this Iowa team? How good is this Iowa team? But it's been really impressive to see them turn it around and like I said, win 15 of their last 18 games.
Kyle, it's okay. You can say you were right. Like, you nailed a lot of the stuff in the preview. I might go do that this afternoon and go look and get you some flowers for some of the things you did say. But yeah, you mentioned it. I think maybe the goals and expectations have changed quickly. When you win 7 straight or whatever you've won in a row, 9 straight, whatever it is, things can change quickly. And I think that the goals and expectations, and that's a good thing for Iowa baseball. And that's a good thing for you because it keeps you busy. It keeps you out of trouble. It keeps you out of Tom Kakert's hair. That's always a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you doing this, Kyle. You're great with women's basketball. We'll keep bugging you when it comes to Big Ten baseball as well. I appreciate the time. Stay dry today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
All right, that is Kyle Huesmann. A busy time for not just Iowa women's basketball because they got some things to do in the portal as well, but the Iowa baseball team red hot as well. So take one of these weekends, get up when they got a home series up in Iowa City, get up there and check out one of the best baseball teams in the Big Ten right now. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a soggy Wednesday right here in the Quad Cities. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Quad Cities, it's time to bring the noise. Saturday night, April 12th, the Steamwheelers take on the Barnstormers in a hard-hitting Union Night showdown. We're honoring area Union members with a night of football action and ice-cold beers for only $1. Union members receive $5 off ticket thanks to Tri-City Building Trades Council and Union Locals 91, 25, and 145. Round up your crew and come cheer on the Wheelers. Get your tickets at steamwheelersfootball.com/tickets. And we'll see you on April 12th.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Wednesday here in the Quad Cities. It seems to be drying off outside, so we'll see if we get a little break from the wet before I think more storms come in later on today, but I'm not a weather guy, nor do I want to play one, so I will continue to talk a little bit of sports. Thank you guys for joining us on Off the Air here on a Wednesday. It's been a fun show so far. A lot going on with Illinois basketball. Ken Prince covered all of that in hour number 1. I'll add to it as well, though. In the last 20 minutes, there's another guard from Illinois headed to the transfer portal. Not a surprise. Draven Gibbs-Lawhorn, easy for me to say, Gibbs-Lawhorn is officially in the transfer portal. Not a surprise, I don't think, to anyone. An Indiana native, good athlete, good basketball player, just never really found his role at the University of Iowa, so he heads to the transfer portal. Also, Ben McCullum has another former Drake player committing to the University of Iowa. Cale Combs commits to Iowa. He's the second, like I said, Bulldog to make the turn from Bulldog to Hawkeye, and now there's 3 on the roster. Cale Combs, Bennett Sturtz, and of course Cooper Koch recommitting on Sunday. We had him on the show on Monday. If you missed that, go check it out. And also, Kyle Huesmann just got done talking about it. Jada Williams made the trip to Iowa City, visited. He told us earlier he didn't think that she was going to Iowa. He was right, and now being reported on social media that she has committed to Bill Fenley and the Iowa State women. So a big pickup for Bill Fenley. Jada Williams, you add Audie Crooks, and they have a nice solid foundation for next season. Bill Fenley continuing to do good things, keeps on rolling along up in Ames. We're going to effort to get Bill Fenley on this show here in the next couple of weeks as well. Excited to try to track him down. Also, those were the 3. Combs to Iowa, Williams to Iowa State, and Draven Gibbs-Lawhorn to the transfer portal. So it's weird because it's like free agency in the NFL when it hits, where you just scroll down Twitter and something new pops up all the time. And we'll keep you updated right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Everything that's going on in the crazy world of college basketball. Don't forget college basketball. Speaking of that, the Final Four is Saturday. The national championship game comes up on Monday. And, of course, more importantly than all of that, the Off the Air Bracket Challenge in full swing. We want to thank our sponsors that have supported this, Godfathers, Snoops, and, of course, Hungry Hobo. Best of luck to that everyone is in it. I know that if Florida wins, Scott Morrell wins. I think Chad Baker wins. If Houston wins, Carson Randazzo, my 8-year-old, could win. If Duke wins, as long as Auburn wins. If not, I think it would be Jeremy Oaks, a good buddy of mine as well. So we will see who wins the bracket challenge. Again, the winner gets a large specialty or 3-topping pizza from Godfather's, a large chips and salsa and dozen enchiladas from Snoops, and a $20 gift card to Hungry Hobo. We want to thank our fantastic sponsors for making that happen right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Again, if you missed today's show, we talked about Ked. It was our first Steamwheeler Wednesday, brought to you by XUSD. Excited about that. Great to see Cory Ross, the Steamwheelers 2-0 as they hit the road for Des Moines this weekend in a battle with the Iowa Barnstormers. They get them back at home the following week. So back-to-back weeks with those two rivals going head-to-head. And then also Kyle Huesmann from the Hawkeye Report. Great information about Iowa women's basketball, the transfer portal, those kind of things. And then also the Iowa baseball team, man. They keep on winning baseball games. It's a fun story right now up in Iowa City. So check out any of that if you missed it. Also check out Monday's show. We had Cooper Koch. We had Darian Porter. We had Pat Anger. On Tuesday, it was a big show as well. Kent McCausland joined us along with Titan Anderson, former North Scott and Northern Iowa standout, and then Julian Vandervelde. Julian is back on stage this weekend at the Spotlight Theater. He's part of Titanic. His son's in it. His wife's doing stuff with it. So go down to the Spotlight Theater sometime this weekend, sometime next weekend. Check out Titanic. Check out the Vanderveldes doing some good things there. Back on stage once again. So we want to thank you guys for watching. Another fun show is in the books. A reminder, we will have a show tomorrow. No show on Friday. Not be able to do one on Friday, so we're taking Friday off. So one more show on Thursday, and then we'll rock and roll again next week as well. So we want to thank you guys for watching, and we will be back tomorrow with another great show here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.